So I've been a part of over $500 million worth of real estate transactions, and in this video, I want to break down 4 secret techniques when it comes to commercial real estate scripting that will allow you to enhance your conversion in ways you've never thought possible. So let's dive right into the video. So first thing I want to talk about is that when it comes to commercial real estate scripting, it is broken down into 4 key categories. Number 1, the opening line. Think about it as a hook where you're gonna try to get somebody to stay on the phone longer than the first 5 seconds. The second part of the script is all about the questions that you ask. So now that you've asked them this hook that has gotten their attention, you now want to focus on the motivation and basically vetting them to see the quality of lead that this really is. The third factor is all about building rapport. How can you build a trust level with this individual that you just cold called, where they're going to give you all the information that will allow you to hopefully do a deal together. And the fourth part is the close/next steps. Because in some instances you might be setting an appointment, and in other instances you just need to add on a next step task, and I'll explain to you exactly what my team and I do to have the highest success ratios possible. So let's focus on the first part, which is the hook. So when it comes to the hook, this is about saying your opening line in a powerful way with confidence, shoulders back, chest out, where this way you sound excited, enthusiastic, where people want to continue being on the phone with you. The biggest mistake I see is that people are hunched over, they're slouching, and you just sound you're not ready and with it. What happens here is during this hook, you want to make sure you're very confident with your opening line more than anything else. If you're going to screw up any part of the script, let it be any part other than the hook, because it's how you start the conversation. It's kind of like your first introduction with somebody, that first impression. That's what a hook is. I break it down into 2 different categories when I'm coaching somebody, which is you can either speak as a broker or you can speak as an investor on your first as the opening line. And by the way, if you have not yet downloaded my script book, make sure you go in the description down below and check it out. It's free. Check it out. What I want you to think about here is if you're a broker and you're watching this and you want to enhance your ability on the hook, you're going to have something as your opening line, something like this. John, you'd be like, hey John, this is Henry. I'm reaching out to you as a commercial broker in the area, and I'm calling you because my client's going through a 1031 exchange and needs to find a property ASAP for tax purposes. And I was just curious if you might be open to selling your property. I like kind of asking yes or no questions because it vets people right away. It's very direct to the point. And what happens here is that you're going to get people who are open, and then you're going to get people who are completely not open, which is great because you're vetting them again right away. That 1031 script I've been using for years, and it has proved incredibly lucrative, as you can tell by my results. And I want to show you that we simply shift it just into the personal investor mindset if you want to as well. You could be a commercial broker and talk as an investor. There's a lot of people who are on both sides here. So it'll sound something like this. John, this is Henry. I'm a local investor here in town. I run a small investment office locally, and we just sold off a few properties, and we're going through a 1031 exchange. We need to move some money fast for tax purposes, and I was just curious if it would be totally against selling your property. It's a very concise way of saying I'm a seasoned investor, or I'm working with a seasoned investor, and we're looking to move some money ASAP. We're qualified, we're ready to go, and I'm just curious if it would be totally against selling your property. You're just going to recite that powerfully. You're going to want to practice in front of a mirror to make sure you can get this line down. I want to be clear and concise with my words. Now, point number 2 is all about questioning. When you're asking questions during this sales call, after you've done a great job on the hook, these questions are going to allow you to vet this person even further. Is this someone who I even want to be spending more time with on the phone? Because if they start off with the hook, it's like, listen, I'm not really open to selling, but maybe if you made me a fantastic offer, and you go into the first question, well, just curious, what does that fantastic offer look like, right? Or you say, do you happen to have a number in mind, and they want $20 million for a property that's probably only worth like $5 million bucks. We've all got these types of calls. You can quickly kind of gauge of like, okay, well, how much more time do I want to spend on this? If they say like, listen, I really don't have a number in mind, I am open to selling. As a matter of fact, I've been thinking about it recently. If they say something of like, well, do you happen to have a price in mind, or what's your offer, or anything like that, be like, well, that's exactly why I gave you a call. I'd love to give you the best price possible, but in order to do that, I need to review some financials and ask you a few questions. You have 2 minutes for me. And they say yes. Okay, great. Well, just to be super clear, is this your cell phone that we're speaking on to, just in case we get disconnected? Yes. Okay, cool. Your property here at 123 Main Street, if it's an industrial property, retail, or multifamily, you're gonna ask different types of questions, but along the same lines, you're gonna ask this. If it's anything other than a multifamily, right? Retail, office, industrial, you're gonna say something along the lines of, just to be clear, is this an investment property for you, or do you own or occupy this property, right? Do you have a business there? And if it's obviously, you're not gonna ask if they're living at the multifamily, because they're probably not living there. If it's an industrial, retail, or office, I like to ask that question just to clarify where I'm at, because they might turn into a lease back if they are an owner occupant, and if they don't occupy the building, then I can more speak into the investment world, okay? And then when they give me some answers and some feedback based on that, I'll dive into some more motivating questions, which the whole purpose about the questions you're asking, which again is in the script book, the whole purpose of this is to vet. You're just vetting these people out, gauging their interaction with you, seeing if they're open to give you some information, kind of seeing where they're at in this process. Because if they're open to giving you some information, they might be a little bit more flexible on price. But if they're like really guarded and they're not really giving you information, which trust me, I've had my fair share of those individuals, you have to realize that they're probably less interested in selling than you might give them credit for. I literally had somebody today like, listen, I'm only going to talk to you in person. I'm like, okay, so just to be super clear, if I had $10 million to buy your property right now, you would have absolutely no interest in hearing an offer on it unless I saw you face to face. Just want to be clear, right? Like, no, I didn't say that. I would just want to, I want to make sure you're like legitimate. Like, listen, is this your cell phone? I can shoot you a text right now. You can see my social media profile. You can see all the properties, I've been a part of. You want to kind of go back to them a little bit with the same level of energy if they're really being hostile. You want to meet the level, a D personality with a D personality, because you're going to see a better result. When you're asking great questions, you're going to go through this process now of vetting that individual. And what's going to happen is during this process, this is a perfect time for part number 3, which is building rapport and trust. So what's happening here is that as we're discussing and they say like, oh yeah, like where are you located? I'm like, I'm in Red Bank, just curious, oh, in Red Bank, oh, that's so funny. I had an office there a long time ago. You did? Oh, that's awesome. Where was the address at? Oh, my office is just down the street from there. That's so interesting. And you go into this different quality of conversation than just about the property where you're a salesperson. You take the salesperson hat off here and just like, I just want to be someone that you can have a good conversation with, right? A friend, right? So I'm going to put the friend hat on now and I just want to be relatable. I want to connect and I want to build trust with this individual. And what happens here is that as you continually do this, in different things that may come up in the conversation, you can be like, oh, just curious, is this the only property you have? No, I own 40 other properties. 40 other properties, it's amazing. Listen, I'm just getting my start in the commercial world, or, hey, listen, I've been in the commercial world a few years and my goal is to own, a bunch more properties like yourself. Where did you get started? And you start like going into the conversation a little bit from, just being kind and curious, right? You might be asking some personal questions, and I want you to know if you do it kindly and you do it from a genuine place in your heart, they're gonna feel that, and you can dive into the next pieces where it's like, listen, I've been speaking to people who have $20 million, $30 million, $40 million property recently. I asked the same questions. It's like, just curious, like, was this the first property you ever bought, or did you start out with smaller properties? I'm just curious because I'm looking to buy a deal this size one day, by myself. If I'm talking to, as the broker side, not the investor side, obviously. And we get into those kinds of conversations. Like, no, this is actually like my 4th or 5th property we ever bought. I started with a smaller 10,000 square foot building that we ended up having our business in, and we grew after that. It's really amazing. And the point is, like, I'll get into different aspects of how we can connect and build rapport and build trust, because asking questions outside of just the traditional sales side is going to allow you to do that. And then the last facet of this piece here, of this 4-step process, is the close, or the next step here. So my team really doesn't set appointments. We're not a fan of going out to the property and touring it and wasting people's time that way. What we like to do first, we want to submit an offer. So what we want to do is we want to get an offer on that property as soon as possible. Our motto at my team is we make an offer 100% of the time, every time. So every lead that we get, our goal is to make an offer as fast as possible for that individual so we can start gauging their level of motivation in regards to selling it. If I'm calling somebody up who's got a 30,000 square foot warehouse, again, it's not an owner occupant, it's just an investor, and they're like open to possibly hearing an offer. So just to be super clear, I know you're excited that you're gonna send over those financials. Once I get those financials over, I'm gonna review it with my partner or with my client, depending on how you said in the script, and we're gonna try to get you the best offer possible. So just so I understand correctly, what price would you consider selling the property for? You wanna go back into the pricing, right? And try to see if you can get any type of gauge of where their heads are at. Because if, they have a 30,000 square foot warehouse, we're like, listen, we're looking for somewhere around $6 million, $200 a square foot in my area. $200 a foot is actually about what market value is if I listed it out on the market. So just to be clear, so if I got you an offer of $6 million, you'd be prepared to sell the property. Yes, we would. Have you had an offer yet that you've declined that maybe it was a little bit less than the $6 million? Yeah, we got an offer for 4.8 and we just declined. Absolutely no interest in selling it at 4.8 million. What happens is now we're price bracketing, because what happens here is that they just gave me feedback where I can't go at an offer at 4.8 because they declined it already. So what I can do is that, like, again, if I want to make an offer, I got to be above the 4.8. They bracketed themselves between 4.8 and 6 million in this example. So I know I can probably get a deal done at maybe 190 a square foot. For 30,000 square feet, that's $5.7 million. I might not be able to get the 6, but I can make an offer of maybe 5.2 or 5.1 and try to see where their heads are at, and I can get some feedback at that point. So our next step is making an offer 100% of the time. Now, what this allows us to do is get feedback. So instead of trying to go for a listing or try to, basically lock it up in an exclusive and then try to pitch out the deal or whatever, where it might take a week or 2 or 3 to do that, I make them an offer within 24 hours. I get some feedback. I can immediately bring that deal to my investor where I know they're going to buy the deal up to 5.7. Hey, I got a great deal at 5.2, which includes my commission. Here's the offer, wrapped it up within 48 hours. I'm cutting down the sales cycle by weeks, if not months, by doing this. Our close close is making an offer as fast as possible instead of setting up an appointment, because that's our next step. Most people do it backwards. They set up an appointment, they go tour the property, maybe they're not available for a week or two and whatever. The point is that you just wasted all this extra time, where I do it backwards. I make an offer first, I negotiate the deal up front, and then I'll get a new offer in, and then I say like, okay, great, so when can my partner and I come tour the property? Does Tuesday or Thursday work better for you? And then this way we flip it into now, like, here's the offer you basically said that you would agree to. Let's come tour the property. I've already skipped a ton of steps, and we can basically get into review and tour the property the same exact time with a contractor or my client or whatever the next step is here with people to tour the property. And we're already moving the deal along, and this is how we're cutting down time frames in these sales cycles by half or more, right? So that allows us to be way ahead of the competition, which is kind of waiting to get more information in order to do something. In this video, again, we went through a lot of awesome information. Again, if you have not downloaded the script book, make sure you check that out in the description down below. And other than that, guys, I'll see you in the next video. Take care, everyone. If you're still watching this video, that means to me that you're a committed real estate agent and you're looking to take your life and business to the next level. I'm just curious, why have you yet to schedule your free, no obligation coaching consultation? All you have to do is simply go in the description down below, and people are telling me this call has been the most unbelievable, the most powerful call they've had in their entire career. And here's just a few of the individuals who have taken full advantage of this call. And my mission is to support as many realtors as possible, build a 6- and 7-figure net income business so that they don't have to rely on this industry anymore for their everyday income. If you're a committed realtor, which I can seem like you are, all you have to simply do to take full advantage of this free coaching consultation is to go in the description down below and schedule your free call now.